After the death of Henry in NCIS, Tony and Ziva in Episode 5 conclusion, the consequences started to surface in Episode 6, highlighting how much of a weakness it is that Tony and Ziva lack something NCIS's MCRT team always had. Henry's death was cruel and premature, occurring just after Tony and Ziva had come to the realization that Henry wasn't the mastermind behind their difficult situation. Tony and Ziva were unable to consider the seriousness of Henry's death at Markham's hands, or the fact that Henry released them in order to save Tali because of the danger Sophie and Tali were in. Nevertheless, Tony and Ziva Season 1, Episode 6 revealed the fissures, which were exacerbated by the title pair's inability to work as a cohesive unit. Because of his friendship with Henry, Tony would always take the brunt of the blows, but as a result of how badly he handled it, Tali saw a previously hidden side of him that was exemplified by his outbursts at Ziva, even though she was encouraging. After all, losing his friend was not the only way that Henry's passing destroyed Tony's new normal. The fact that Tony and Ziva were on the run and attempting to protect Tali undoubtedly made matters worse. But what was most striking was how isolated Tony felt in his grief over his friend Henry. Tali, who was concerned enough to offer him comfort, and NCIS viewers both found Tony's response to be out of character, demonstrating the depth of Tony's sorrow. Tali seeing Henry as her uncle meant she could have understood Tony's pain, but their difference in age and relationship still meant she didn't fully grasp what Tony was going through. Ziva never leaning on Henry and being jealous of his relationship with Tali also acted as a barrier between her and Tony, effectively leaving Tony alone in his grief. Since his and Ziva's haphazard team was put together out of necessity, Tony cannot even count on them for help. In the same way that Tony and Ziva are unconcerned by the use of Boris and Fruzzy's wedding as a trap, Henry's passing has less of an impact on Tony and Ziva's staff than it does on Tony and his family. Tony is unavoidably negatively impacted as a result of not sharing the sadness. Henry passed away earlier than any other NCIS character, which made it extremely difficult for Tony to cope with the loss. Kate's murder reminds me of the NCIS deaths that impacted the whole MCRT team, not just Gibbs and a select few. Both characters and viewers were devastated by Kate's death in the NCIS Season 2 finale. But in the beginning of NCIS Season 3, the MCRT team was able to come to terms with Kate's passing as a unit. Gibbs and the others found it easier to accept Kate's death after her killer was apprehended, even if they were only connected by their perilous occupation. The fact that Tony and Ziva formed their team as a result of the situations they all found themselves in, Boris and Fruzzy being entangled through the 9.4 and Claudette and Sophie working for them, does not provide Tony with the same kind of comfort that he had after losing Kate. In addition to highlighting how NCIS, Tony and Ziva's crew is inferior to NCIS's, this makes Henry's death more brutal. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.